Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Wisdom of the Soul class presented by the Ageless Wisdom Mystery School. Quick reminder, we're available, the video in its entirety on YouTube, and also the audio track, somewhat edited, much shorter, as a podcast. Search either or both with the 4 words Ageless Wisdom Mystery School. If you're interested in the study group that we call the Wisdom Salon on Saturday, it's limited to 10 people. I have 2 openings in that really powerful group. It gets better every week. A little more advanced, a little more metaphysical, a little more oriented toward the spiritual end, whereas this class sort of straddles personal and transpersonal development. Check out my website, michaelbenner.com. Click on personal development. Also, my private work, my one-on-one phone calls. First one's free, and then we can, there's no obligation. So if you're stressing out, if you're confused, if you're having a career crisis, I really enjoy couples counseling. We get a lot of benefit, a lot of people that come a little too late, but don't wait until your marriage is totally on the rocks to learn some communication skills and how to get heard and understood. It's not about winning arguments. What we really want is not a victory, because then your partner loses and the marriage loses. So nobody can win in that sense. It's about getting heard and understood. That's what we want. It's just to be understood. So if you're interested in the private work, again, michaelbenner.com. Poke around there. It's a pretty deep website. Not like a lot of, most websites are pretty scarce these days. And yet I think you'll find this to be a resource-heavy website. Even has a reading list on the podcast page. So check it out. Links to my book, Fearless Intelligence, as well. Today we're going to talk about radical acceptance. And I'm going to tell you up front, this is big. This class alone could change your life significantly. If you really hear what I'm going to offer, what I'm going to suggest to you, there is a quality of love that is available to each and every one of us that few people even suspect, and even fewer people ever experience. It's what we really long for. It's what we're looking for. Love has many qualities. One of them is a longing. Sagioli called it divine homesickness. It's a sense that there's something missing, that this isn't quite right. There's an empty part of me. There's a piece missing. There's a part of the story that I don't really understand yet. I haven't figured it out. Maybe you call it a meaning or a purpose to life. This is what metaphysics or ontology really is, the ultimate philosophy of meaning and purpose, of identity. Who am I? Why am I here? The nature of consciousness, which is fundamental to everything. Behind their thoughts, behind their feelings, this idea alone. What is this awareness that allows you to know your thoughts? We usually don't get past thinking to the idea that there is a self with a capital S, a higher self, that can watch those thoughts without being the thinker. There's something behind your thinking, and it's called love. It's called consciousness. It's awareness, knowledge, and understanding. But the word love doesn't really carry that connotation for most people. So when I talk about a quality of love that's available to each of us, I'm talking not only about emotion, about contentment, fulfillment, and some warm, fuzzy, safe, and easy way of being. I'm talking about a level of realization of how life works and what it actually is that bears on why we're here and what we're for. And the beautiful thing is, this is not a belief system. It may appear to be a belief system as I offer it to you initially, but it's provable. Well, how is philosophy provable, Michael? Through meditation, through introspection, by developing that awareness, so-called self-awareness, which really isn't any different from just the word awareness. We could say self-awareness is understanding why you feel the way you feel, why you think the thought patterns that you do, or the belief systems that you do, why you behave the way you behave, those reflexive patterns. But self-awareness includes an awareness of the world around you, your ability to empathize. We did a class on empathy and compassion a few weeks back. What is this remarkable ability that we have to empathize? And there are, just as there are varying degrees of love, there are varying degrees of empathy as well. You can sympathize, you can empathize. I don't know if it's a word, telepathize. Sympathy, empathy, even telepathy, where you can connect with another person and excuse me a second, and feel what they feel and experience what they're experiencing. This approach is so-called ESP and extrasensory perception, all of which makes perfect sense when you understand that we spring from the same source, and on some level there is a collective consciousness, to borrow from Carl Jung. That's love, and we can tap into that level of awareness. Love is awareness. Love is consciousness. And it does not come from others. This is the point I want to make going into our meditation at the top. This is may sound crazy to you. What do you mean love does not come from others? Love does not come from objects, but rather from or through the subject. It's your love, it's your consciousness, it's your awareness. It does not come to you from outside. Neither do our problems. All of our pain and suffering and difficulty in life comes from projecting our problems on the world and looking outside of ourselves for the cause of the problem, the cause of the heartache, the cause of the emotional upset. And so we try to manipulate the world and manipulate other people to fix the problem, when the only problem is we're not accepting reality. We don't like reality. We want to change reality. I think it was Napoleon that said once, or wrote, circumstances, what are circumstances? I make circumstances. Well, that's a very Western idea. Manifest destiny. I am the creator of my life. It's true in a certain limited way, but we're picking and choosing from what's available. What occurs to us, the choices, the options, you've heard me say countless times, we always have more choices than are immediately apparent. But even if you take a breath and relax and begin to examine all of the additional choices you had overlooked, you're still picking and choosing from what's available. Karmically. But the point is that your problems are not in the world, they're in here. Your heartache is not being caused by the world. Though if you fixate on it, you can find plenty of evidence that it does. I know. I understand. I'm a journalist who doesn't watch the news anymore. Not like I used to. It's just too much. You don't have to be a psychic to know what's going on in the world today and tomorrow and the next day. The suffering, the hatred, the stupidity, the insanity of it all. And also, your love is not in the world. It's not going to come from this romance. Oh, initially it will. And maybe you even marry your partner. But that initial romantic love is going to fade. And if you want that relationship, that marriage, even that friendship to work, it's going to take an effort. You have to work at it. You have to care about it. You have to give love if you want to receive it. So where is the love coming from that we're going to give? If not through us as the subject. So that's where we're going to begin today. It's a very challenging idea that I'm challenging you to accept or consider at least. Our class today is called Radical Acceptance. So here's the first postulate of radical acceptance. You are the source of love. You are the source of awareness, consciousness. And if you don't have it or feel like you want more of it, there's no one to blame. I wouldn't even suggest blaming yourself. I'd just excise the word blame from your vocabulary altogether. Others are not to blame for the fact that we don't feel as much love and safety and peace and harmony and insight and understanding as we would like. Don't blame yourself, just take responsibility for it. Responsibility. The ability to choose your responses. Accountability. It's your life. If you're not happy, do not blame others for the fact that you're unhappy, in spite of the evidence that in spite of the evidence that they are the cause of your unhappiness or your unease or trepidation or anxiety. The world is not happening to you. It's happening, but it's not happening to you. We have to give up this victimization and this helplessness and this distrust of the process of life and consider the possibility that the universe knows what it's doing. If you have a religious bent, God knows what it is doing. Or philosophically, the absolute, the first cause, the prime mover, knows what it's doing. Religious people often say there is a plan. Or I like God works in mysterious ways. It's not all that mysterious, actually. And I know you understand this to some degree, and that's why you're here. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I love doing these classes. I'm more of a student than a teacher. I'll always be more of a student than a teacher. This class gives me extra motivation to study even harder, to read even more, to listen to more videos and podcasts, and exercise my brain and my heart. So, accepting responsibility for the love in your life, for how aware and awake and alert we really are. That's where we'll begin today. And let's do an opening meditation, and then we'll talk more about what it means to accept reality, to accept the truth of what is, like it or not. And why would we do that when we could hold it off, when we could resist, when we could maybe turn and run the other way? That's what's coming up. Stand by. If you close your eyes and relax, we'll do a meditation today. See what comes through. Get comfortable in your chair or your meditation pillow or bench or whatever furniture you're on. Take a couple of slow, deep breaths, pulling in strength and power as you inhale, and as you exhale, feel a letting go feeling. Create and sense a letting go, a release. As you breathe, several slow, deep breaths, let the muscular armoring fall away, reminding yourself that you're safe, you're in a safe place, and that this is a good time for you to relax. Breathe normally, allowing your body to breathe itself. You realize this too is a letting go. And you're going to trust that your body breathes itself. Though it may strike you as odd to think of it as a matter of trust. Nevertheless, consider that that's what you're doing. You're trusting that your heart will beat and continue to beat even while you sleep and lose consciousness. You may say, well, what choice do I have? But still, it's, you've accepted it. You've accepted that food is digested and body temperature and blood pressure and, gosh, the immune system repairing and replacing cells and whatever you understand about the nature of anatomy and physiology, consider just how miraculous all of that really is. So you're trusting life to keep you alive. And as we get older, we realize every day is a little more precious. You have 10 more years, 10 more months, 10 more days. Actually, we could lose life at any age, accidentally. So you already trust, don't you? Place your awareness on the bottom of your nose and just watch your body breathing for a minute. This is such a wonderful exercise, though at first it may seem pointless to some of you, even silly. As if to say, what will I learn from watching my breath? From considering all thoughts to be a distraction and simply watching the ebb and flow of my body breathing itself all by itself. Well, it's the ultimate in relaxation. You have nothing to do but allow my voice to guide you and observe your body breathing in and out all by itself. And if letting go on this level feels a little uncertain, a little new, causes a little anxiety to come up, tell yourself that you're in control of the letting go, that you are deciding, you are choosing now to allow yourself to become even more relaxed, to go deeper and deeper. You may feel a sinking feeling. You may feel a floating feeling. You may feel a rising up feeling. It matters not. Just keep letting go, layer after layer. Slowly scan your body, sweeping from the soles of your feet to the top of your head and back again, slowly. Finding areas of holding on that you can choose to release. Accepting and trusting just how safe you really are. We've had empirical scientific evidence for 18 years, repeatable experiments since, that the structure in your brain in charge of anxiety and fear and stress, the so-called amygdala, literally atrophies and shrinks in size as you practice feeling safe. You're changing your brain when you meditate in this way. And not only does the amygdala, the center of fear, of fight or flight, atrophy and literally get smaller. The part of the brain in charge of executive function, and higher intelligence, decision making, and imagination literally grows. That gray and white matter grows regardless of your age. And you get a bigger brain when you meditate and accept the truth that you're really safe. Go back to just watching your breath for a moment. This is an in breath. This is an out breath. But what are you learning? That you're safe. That you can trust life to breathe you. Let go. Let go of the fear. Let go of the struggle. Let go of the blame and the victimization. You think the animals worry about whether they're good enough? Do you think the trees and the flowers and the grasses are concerned about survival? Is this higher intelligence a curse? Or is it that we just haven't learned to accept the truth of who we are and what we're for? And if we did, and as we do, who would we tell? Do we have friends that are of such a quality that we can share through conversation information on this level? If not, it's time to cultivate some. For ignorance loves company, and they will pull you back down. Just about the time you find yourself happy and joyous and free, they will pull you back down into the muck and the mire. Create a support group of people who understand, of those who at least are questioning and care, who recognize our connection to everyone and all things. Promote those relationships, cultivate them, cherish them. Accept responsibility for choosing who you spend time with and why. to give up helplessness and victimization. We must give up happenstance, the feeling that things happen to us or are done to us, and see everything in your life as a reflection of your awareness. Change your awareness, your understanding, your priorities and your values, and your life will change magically. You'll see it reflected in the mirror. That's the beginning of radical acceptance. Consider this feeling of fulfillment, this sense of being a purposeful form of life with meaning, a reason to be. Consider that that is your responsibility as an individual. As differentiated consciousness. Ultimately, consciousness is infinite and eternal and undifferentiated. But it obviously condenses into physical form, just as humidity can become water and water become ice. The ice forgets that it's water, much less the humidity. It's like the ocean and the wave and the drop. The drop may not be in the ocean any longer, but the ocean is always in the drop. And the wave may seem to be differentiated or individuated, but it's clearly the ocean. The universe is you. It's in every cell. It's in every molecule. It's in every breath. You are not separate. You are not alienated. And there's no reason, no need to reach out, to grasp and clutch and hold on. Let go. Except that you can let go and become one. Better said, become aware that you always have been, always will be. Separate only in appearance, but as energy, as spirit. You not only have the love you're looking for, you are the love you've always been looking for. Do a 180. Look within for the love and give that to the world. And whenever we feel empty and needy and reach out and want others to fill us, know that we're working the program backward. You sow and then reap. You give and then receive. Get the order straight. And feel that radiance. Feel it now from the center of your being, from your heart, the center of your rib cage. A warm glow that radiates out and fills all the empty spots in you. You fill those empty spots by accepting the truth of who and what you are. Infinite consciousness. And as you begin to feel ever more filled and fulfilled, warm and radiant, sense that emanating beyond the boundaries of your physical body. Like a radio wave that is everywhere equally present. Send your love to the horizons. You don't push it, you let it go. Just release it. Give yourself permission to let go of your love unconditionally and feel it race to the horizons and embrace the world. And influence, albeit subtly, all living things in this planet. That there will be a day when some significant number of people acknowledge the reality of who we are and what we're for, and give up this fear of alienation and isolation, and separation and inadequacy. And why would anybody love me? Why would anybody want to spend time with me? Meditation allows you to become comfortable in your own skin and discover why people are happy when they're in your presence, why people like the way they feel when they're around you. And it's not because of any effort that you're making. It's always a matter of allowing, of letting go, and accepting and embracing the truth. Whatever its face, whatever its appearance, to acknowledge the truth, capital T truth, the goodness, truth, and beauty of things, the bigger picture. Accept that. That's radical acceptance, in part. Prepare to return to the wide awake state simply by forming an intention to do so. Reorient yourself by feeling the furniture supporting you. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Remember the room in which you sit. Bring to mind the day and date, Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, depending on where you are, the Zoom class that you're sitting in now. Take a nice, slow, big, deep breath. Fill those lungs. Hold for just a beat as you peak, and now as you exhale, feel another letting go. And open your eyes wide awake, back in the room, feeling fine, rested, refreshed, better than before. Eyes open, wide awake, feeling better and better. Yeehaw. I think one of the best reasons to come to this class live, as opposed to the podcast or the YouTube, is the group meditation. It's not in the podcast. It is in the video on YouTube. But there's something about the group energy. I bet you feel it. I wonder if you feel it. Is it different than when you meditate at home alone? I suppose so. That's been my experience. I love group meditations. Wow, just really feels good. All right, radical acceptance. Let's talk about the subject-object split. This is a source. this is a source of all of our pain and suffering. This separation between subject and object. If we go back briefly, I promise you I won't dwell on this, to English class in middle school, probably 7th, 8th, 9th grade, somewhere in there. We were diagramming sentences, and we learned about the subject and the verb and the object. And maybe you know those words as descriptors, like subjective versus objective. That's a good way to think of it. Subjective is personal. It's about you. You're the subject of your life. And objective, which is what I was taught to aspire to as a journalist, for example. Michael, you're a news guy. You've got to be objective. That means like uninvolved, no personal biases or predilections or prejudices, just sort of standing outside of things, looking back in a fair and balanced way. Objectivity, the subject and the object. So the subject acts on the object. Bill rode his bike. Bill is the subject, bike is the object. The verb separates the subject from the object. Bill is not the bike. The bike is not Bill, but Bill can ride the bike. The sentence doesn't say very much about how it feels to ride a bike, the freedom, the wind in your face. Ride, maybe we could find a more descriptive verb. That's one of the secrets of good writing, by the way, to find really, give up the adverbs and the adjectives and try to find better verbs. So we look at life in the same way. I am the subject, and everything else in my life is an object. I go to pick up this coffee cup. Well, this coffee cup is an object that I'm holding. And I set it down, but I remain the subject. So this is the split. We believe we are a subject. Everything else is an object. We don't see that as energy, there's just one unified field of energy. The thing about objects is that they are solid, so to speak. They're physical, they're material. They have edges. They don't really, but they appear to have edges. If you zoom into the molecular level, you just see particles, what appear to be particles, dancing around, electrons spinning around in molecules, electron shells, various energies. We know better now. Electrons don't really orbit the nucleus of an atom. Even more basic than the molecule, break the molecule down into atomic structures. The atom has a nucleus. The electrons appear to spin around it. We all learned that in school. Not true. Electrons are flashing on and off. They exist as a probability. It's a little hard for us to understand if we're not trained scientists. It's challenging to me, certainly. But I know physically, these are not the particles that we were taught. They're actually little packets of energy. This is Einstein's equation that mass is a measure of energy equivalence. Everything is energy. Everything is spirit. Get that spirit equals energy equals spirit thing together. Spirit is energy. What do you religious people mean that spirit is eternal and infinite? Well, ask the empirical scientist. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Oh, so spirit is energy? Energy is spirit? Yeah, that's all. It's just used to be called breath. In Genesis, it's called the Word. In the beginning, there was the Word, the breath, the the Ha, Aloha, the breath of God. That's energy. We have radio now, and TV through the air, pictures through the air, invisible. Can't see them. Where's the picture? Where's all these radio stations? Well, they're invisible and unseen. What? Yeah, you need a receiver. What? It's so cool, so far out. We just take it for granted now, but imagine in Marconi's day. There's so much here, sometimes it just boggles the mind, but I'm talking about the truth that there is no separation in terms of energy or spirit. It's just a field, it's a magnetic field. It's always whole, there's always one. You could say, well, there are currents and eddies in that magnetic field. There are areas where the magnetic field is stronger than in other areas, like the energy that is this coffee cup, that takes the form of this coffee cup, is denser. It's a stronger field, but there's no edges here. This is just energy dancing. You know that from the eighth grade, but we then forget it. It's solid. I can't put my hand through it. Appears solid. Appears to have edges. You know better. It's just energy. Well, what makes it appear solid? Your eyeballs. You think you see the cup, you only see light reflecting off the cup via an optic nerve that is electrical impulses in the brain. Just like all the music on your computer is zeros and ones until it comes out the speaker. And we call it sound because it's vibrating the air. If there were no air here, there would be no sound. You know those experiments where they put a ringing bell in a jar and in a vacuum jar and you pump all the air out of it until there's no more air and you can't hear the bell. It needed the air. It needed those molecules. It needed that matter as a medium to transmit sound through the air. I don't want to get too far afield here, but it's important to remember that behind this objective world of form is spirit or energy, and it is unified, it is one, it is whole. And so the subject-object split is really an illusion. There is only the subject. The subject-object split is a matter of appearance. It's real enough in a relative sense, it's real enough. Be careful when you get on the freeway because the object you're driving in could collide with another object and the results could be disastrous. It's real enough. I used to wonder if time is an illusion, why does the Dalai Lama wear a Rolex? Because it's real enough. He's got a meeting at 3 o'clock on Thursday. It's real enough. What's a Thursday? What's a month but a spinning planet that's rotating around the sun? And we call it Thursday at 3 o'clock. It's real enough. But if you want to be happy, if you want to be free, if you want to be accountable and responsible, you have to accept the higher truth that all of this is energy or spirit. And it's not separate. There is no separation. And let me say something to you that's really challenging. When you meditate and get really quiet, and by learning to watch your breath, realizing you're not doing the breathing, you're just the observer of the breath, and then you can learn to watch your thoughts and realize, I'm not the thinker if I can watch this thought. If I'm listening to these voices in my head arguing, am I the voices in my head arguing with each other? I want the blue one. No, I want the red one. The blue one would be better. The red one would. Or am I the one watching and listening? When you create that level of non-attachment that you can identify as the awareness behind your thoughts and perceptions, you're free. And you begin to realize that the I am, that is you experiencing your life, that sense of existing, it's sort of like Descartes, I think, therefore I am. Take that up a notch. I am aware that I'm thinking, therefore I am. I'm aware that I'm feeling this way or that, therefore I am. Be that higher I am. And you will come to understand that that I am is the same for everybody. If you understand what I'm saying right now and can just imagine being the awareness that is witnessing everything in your life, your thoughts, your feelings, your sensations, perceptions of the world, If you can be that awareness, that I am, that sense of I am, is shared by everybody. It's the same I am. The one you're looking for is who is doing the looking. That's the game here. Its incarnation is a big forgetting. And life is about remembering and studying and accepting the truth of who you are. And it begins by being responsible for situations that you did not cause. I'm going to talk about this in two ways. And then I want to go to comments, questions, and answers. And again, implore you to ask, participate, if at all possible, please. I've always tried to emulate the old radio talk shows, but we had 100,000 people listening, so a few dozen would obviously call. When we have a much smaller group, it's harder to get you guys to open up your microphones, but hopefully we can engender some of that. I want to talk about this in two ways. You're responsible for situations you did not create. That's the first challenge. What do you mean? It's not my fault. I didn't do that. It's not me. It's them. It's the other. Uh-oh. The other? What other? There is no other. Oh, yeah, there is. And then you fall back down into material reality. Anything that's different is different. It's an objective world, and this is not that. And look at the periodic table. Gold is not iron. Gold is not lead. Silver is not boron. Magnesium is not manganese. These are different elements. They have different atomic numbers. Yeah, but we decided that all that material was ultimately energy. E equals mc squared. Energy, it's all energy, right? We've split the really heavy ones, the ones with a lot of electrons, uranium, plutonium, and then we bombard it and make it bomb grade. And then we can split that, and the amount of energy that is released. 1 pound of plutonium can destroy a 100-mile area, vaporize it, turn all living beings into steam from just a few ounces of matter once that energy is released. So the matter is always in decay. It's not real. There's nothing lasts. How can you say that's true if it doesn't last? If everything is in decay and constant flux and nothing lasts, how can you call it true? Truth has to be something that is permanent. And further, it could not have a beginning or an end. Or how could something that have a beginning have no end? Or something that has no beginning ever end? They go together. That's the nature of infinity and eternity. It's beyond space and time. Time is created by our thinking. We think about the past, we think about the present, we think about the future. Space is created by our perception of it. We give it height, width, and depth through our perception, all assembled inside your head. Take responsibility for everything that happens to you as somehow a reflection of your consciousness. It doesn't mean you blame yourself. Just give up blaming others and accept that things are. No, I don't want to accept it. I want to push it away. I don't like it. It hurts. It's frightening. It's painful. I'm suffering. I've got to leave this relationship. It's not working. It's abusive. I have this illness. I have this horrible job. My car won't run. I need a new car. It's a problem. I want to fight. I want to struggle. I want to resist reality and truth. The problem with promoting acceptance on this level, especially in the West, is people think of it as surrender. That if I say you've got to accept the truth of what is, people say, you mean cave in, give up, surrender? No. Whether your intention is to leave it as it is or to modify it somewhat or replace it entirely with a new circumstance or situation or object or relationship or event, you still have to accept it. Acceptance is not the end of things. Acceptance is the beginning. Acceptance means merely to acknowledge the truth. That's what radical acceptance is. Acknowledge the truth. This is a mess. This stinks. This sucks. Accept it. That's the reality you're in. Stop the struggle. Don't struggle. Consider the martial arts model. In the West, men, I'm speaking of women, don't fight much, not physically anyway. Uh, men will square off and duke it out, block a punch, counter with another punch, each being offensive, each attacking the other. Consider Taoism in flow and resisting nothing. That's the philosophy of Chinese Taoism. And throughout Asia, throughout the Eastern world, the same sense of if something is attacking you, don't oppose it or resist it, bring it to you, and then manage the direction. So if you attack a martial artist, he or she is likely to grab your jacket and pull you in the direction you're already moving. But then with just the slightest amount of leverage, redirect you into being face down on the floor. And then they just stomp on your neck and you're done. So the alternative to resistance is not just standing there, what's that phrase? Take the bull by the horns. Nobody would be that stupid. Nobody takes the bull by the horns. You step aside, but you don't resist. Don't you see? It's more elegant than that. You can live your life with elegance when you stop resisting and accept the reality. This sucks. This is a mess. Accept it. Don't fight it. Don't struggle. Give up all of that pain and suffering. And then choose to recreate. This is somehow a reflection of me. I've engendered this. I've created this circumstance to learn something. Everything and everyone is my teacher. So I'm the student. Learn, figure it out, change something in me, and your world will change. Your outlook, your attitude, your belief systems. Particularly this idea that reality is objective, all these separated forms. And go to the ocean. This is one thing. The wave appears to be separate. It's not. The drop appears to be separate. It's not. The ice appears not to be water, but it really is. You see? The substantial side is the energy side. The material side, which we think of as solid and substantial, is not substantial. It never lasts. And the second way I'd like you to consider radical acceptance is emotionally. To please work on it takes a while, but devote yourself to giving up victimization when it comes to emotional feelings. That starts with anger. If you can give up anger, I heard a psychotherapist the other day say anything but anger. I thought, wow, that's really brilliant. Just outlaw it. The way you do that is you find the hurt in your anger. You want to give up anger? Accept that it hurts. Accept radical acceptance that your anger is a defense mechanism to frighten away the danger, as if this is a wild animal that is coming to eat you, or another tribe of primitive individuals that's coming to steal the women and the children and the food and kill all the men. That's what the brain was developed to do. Grow your brain, give that up. When you feel angry, find the hurt. And then when you find the hurt and you own the anger, see, now you're not a victim. It's your hurt. You'll also find the sadness. And then you'll find the fear. That's how you dissemble anger. You may want to write that down. Giving you, like $2,000 worth of therapy right here. Whenever you're angry, find the hurt. That's the way you own it. It's accepting that it's your feeling. You can argue that it was done to you and you have some righteous reason to be angry, and you're going to set them straight and make sure they don't get away with it. Yeah, how's that working for you? Not so well, huh? Own it. By finding the hurt, then you'll find the sadness. Underneath that, you'll find the fear, which includes the fear that this is going to keep happening, but also because fear is everything unknown, not a danger, just uncertainty and confusion. You'll see anger as a symptom of what you need to understand, a symptom of what you do not understand and what needs understanding. Anger is the brain's signal, its cry for understanding and insight, but you've got to own it first. And so too, so too, all of your other emotions, particularly I'm talking about the negative emotions, of course, we're positive emotions, happiness and contentment and peace of mind and joy and fulfillment and kindness and generosity and tolerance and good humor and all of that stuff, that doesn't need to be understood. That doesn't need processing. That's a message that says, stay the course, keep doing whatever you're doing. It's the feelings that hurt that are requests for a course correction. Instead, we want to change the world. We want to go manage or control or eliminate the stimulus and ignore the response. Radical acceptance here is you are the response. Your feelings are your feelings. There's a crazy idea. Your feelings are your feelings. They weren't done to you. They rise out of you. Yeah, but he insulted me. He said blah, blah, blah. Well, if he had said the same thing to 10 other people, they would have reacted in 10 very different ways. So the feeling tells you nothing about the objective, only about the subjective. Your thoughts are for the world, the objective world. Your emotions are a special intelligence to tell you about yourself. Accept that. That's radical acceptance. So those are just two areas. We could go further, but the idea of accepting responsibility for Every situation you find yourself in, whether you caused it or not, your responsibility, your ability to choose your response, and that somehow it's a reflection of you, and karmically it's a lesson that you need to learn. How did I create this? If that's too much, how did I contribute to the creation of this? What part of this is directly about me? It doesn't mean it's all about you, but there's enough of it about you that you attracted it. You're in this relationship. Didn't happen to everybody, it happened to you. And as we accept responsibility for that, you find the lesson, the heartache goes away, and you say, oh yeah, I fixed it by owning it and responding to it. But I had to first accept it. Acceptance means simply to acknowledge the truth of things, to acknowledge reality. All of our pain and suffering comes from denying and ignoring reality and trying to change it. So the bottom line is trust life. Trust life. Can you? Are you willing to even try a little bit? What if life knows what it's doing? What if everything really does happen for a reason and all things work together for good? I mean, what if? Are you willing to just put your toe in the water and check that out? You willing to wade in up to your knees? You don't have to dive in, just sort of go in slowly. Give yourself time to adjust. Stick your toe in, go in up to your knees. Pretty soon you'll be waist deep in reality and free, don't you see? Trust life. Mindy,
I'm here. That's
you
good.
are. You're here in
Here
California
I
now.
even am in the flesh. Let's see. Somebody just popped on the chat. Rosemary has something to say if you want to go to her, or what do you want to do?
Sure.
She says, I want to bring up an instance with Michael that happened in my neighborhood that is just what Michael is talking about today. That's from Rosemary.
Good. Go ahead and unmute, Rose.
I did. Good morning.
It is. Thank you. Good morning.
I'm just amazed at how cannily you bring up subjects that in my little world happen to be relevant on the very morning, or actually yesterday, last night. I have a neighbor who is has bothered me for years. Like, I've lived here for 22 years in Venice, and she's bothered me from just about the whole time. And I got very angry last night because I was frustrated that I hadn't done something about this. It has to do with stupid dogs and inanity. Nothing like the Israeli Gaza war, nothing that serious.
Mhm.
But taking responsibility for this would accepting this as my own doing, in a sense, would, I believe you're saying, would relieve me from having to bother about it for another 22 years, because I would be the owner of something I thought that she was responsible for.
Right.
And it would mean that I could go to her and bring it up.
Oh, you
Faith.
would have, let me interrupt you. Not only could you do that, you could do countless other things once you empower yourself by saying, the reality of this situation is not limited to what's being done to me. The reality includes, and is probably more to the point, my response to it. So acceptance is, there's a dog in my neighborhood. Is it just the barking that bothers you?
It was. It's not now. It's a light that pours in my bedroom window and which she will not turn off all night. Her fear is enormous that someone will come and attack her. So if I look at it that way, I can find other ways to drape my windows,
Right,
can't I? That would be taking responsibility, right?
right,
That's a
right,
pure
exactly.
example.
Right.
Also, that if I take responsibility and do that, it means she can shine her light forever until I die in that same bedroom, and it wouldn't affect me anymore. Is that how that works? This is a common example, it seems to me, of how
Well,
that could work, because at the moment I blame her.
I have to admit that I'm distracted by the play on words, shine her light. You got to admit, Rose, there's some irony in that, right?
Yes.
So let's shine some light on this problem of the light shining. uh, she's your teacher. She gets no credit for teaching you anything. All the credit goes to you for recognizing that every morsel of adversity in your life is an opportunity to learn what we often don't know. Sometimes we learn it and years later realize that we did learn. Um, but it just beats struggling. So accept that you have no control over, you've asked her to turn off the light. She's frightened. She's not gonna do that. So you figure out a way to drape the window. If it were a problem of the dog barking, let's say, I'm sure many people uh, have this problem. A technique, for example, that I learned early in meditation was to, whenever you're distracted, whether internally by some cramp or pain or irritation or itch in your body, or externally by the sound of cars going by or a clock ticking or a dog barking, put your attention on the barking dog. This is counterintuitive. If it's a distraction and it's bothering you, you want to push it away. You want to ignore it. You want to deny it. You want to, like the window, put a drape up or some barrier to make it go away. Instead, the trick is to put your attention directly on it and say to yourself, every time the dog barks, the volume of the barking will be less and less and less. I can hear it fading. And that works. It works to the point that you just no longer hear it anymore. And so too with difficult people, just dealing with difficult people that rub us the wrong way. And they seem so unreasonable and so heartless and so cruel and so insensitive. Accept it. Accept that that's who they are. At least that's the way they strike you. That's a place to begin. Again, acceptance is not the end of things. It's a place to begin. Now, be more clever, right? Find ways to deal with that. Initially, again, counterintuitive, respond to the negativity with kindness and understanding. Try compassion. A person that is cruel or mean or nasty, they merit some compassion. What is the suffering in their life? Who could have a dog that barks And when someone complains, say, well, that's tough. That's your problem. Call the cops if you don't like it. They can't do anything. Dogs bark. Wow. She doesn't even care. She's not even going to try. She won't train the dog. She won't bring it indoors, especially after certain hours in the evening. I mean, okay. And that compassion and that empathy will change you in a way that she doesn't have the power to upset you anymore. You become bulletproof. Acceptance allows you just to, the irritation and the suffering just falls away when you just accept that that's what it is. And you realize that all of your suffering was from your resistance. What you resist persists. The only way to move forward is to accept. But I hasten to add that doesn't mean that's the end of things, so just give up. It's the beginning of things, so now find a more clever way. Remember that martial arts allegory? You know, the alternative to counterattacking as men fight in the West is not to stand there and let some guy punch you in the face. It's called self-defense. It starts by ducking out of the way, you know, or turn and refuse to engage. And all of this is about the responsibility to accept. And then you have the power to respond, to choose how you respond and how you can recreate the whole situation. I don't know if that's going to help you. Do you still have an issue with the dog that I missed?
No, I practiced what you said, compassion with the dog. I took her a bottle of champagne and she threw me off her balcony. Get off my balcony. She took the bottle. No, I can learn by this. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, poor lady. She must be in so much pain.
Yes.
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you, Michael.
It's a great real world story.
Yeah, real nitty gritty,
Yeah,
twitty.
we can all relate, I think. Mindy, do we have any other
We
comments
do
or
not.
questions?
This is last call, people. I'm gonna close the bar.
How
Everybody
about
else,
you?
I
How
did
about
want to add that technique about going into the source of irritation or discomfort or pain that you were just talking about. You and I were talking about that in reference to a body ache, a pain also. And I found that kind of counterintuitive and also interestingly effective. I wanted to thank you, and I want to add one more thing and then listen to you. Acceptance for me, the first thing I say to myself, it doesn't mean I like it. And I need to first, and I think this goes with what you're saying, I need to first say that dog barking or that light in the window is really irritating. And then I need to work from there. But I used to think, gee, it shouldn't bother me, and that's a trap too. For me, I have to first say I don't need to like this. I need to just have it be like yep, yep, yep. I was listening to a radio program on the way over, and they were talking again about Viktor Frankl's great book Man's Search for Meaning. And it wasn't that those people weren't in that pain, but that within that some of them were able to vary their response to it, and some of them weren't able to. It was just pain and it was illness and they died. So I think that it's complicated. You go ahead.
Again, I think the best short, quick, easy way to remember everything that we've talked about today, or I mean the thread, if you find the loose thread, and it's really to say to yourself, acceptance simply means to acknowledge reality, to acknowledge the truth of what is. And it's where I begin. It's not surrender. It's not the end of things. It's not giving up. I must begin by accepting if I'm going to manage this headache, it's not going to come from pushing it away, wishing it away. I mean, we could resort to some aspirin, but let's say we want to, it's a tension headache. So you ought to be able to relax it away. But the only way out is through. These are two axioms that I really love from psychology. The only way out is through. There's no end run around it or way to dig under it or go over the top or run in the other direction. All adversity in life you have to move into. The only way out is through. And the other axiom that goes along with that I really like is you've got to feel it to heal it. You can't hold pain and suffering at arm's length and heal it. You've got to move directly into the heart of darkness. It hurts. Tell me more about the hurt. Go into the hurt. Go into the pain, whether it's physical pain or emotional pain or irritation or frustration or a total freak out at the condition of the world and where we're headed. Face it, but we don't want to run away, ignore it, avoid it, deny it. We also don't want to hold on to it. Like walk up to it and then hold on to it. You've got to move into it. You've got to die to it, in a sense. You've got to surrender to it, to let it, the pain, physical or emotional, let it devour you. Let it have its way with you. Let it consume you. And if you feel like you're going to be crushed or smothered, suffocated, or eviscerated, good. Now you know you're doing it well. That because the I am doesn't die, isn't suffocated or crushed. It's the pain that's suffocated and crushed. So it's really heroic. That's, again, it's called the hero's journey. It's a spiritual warrior. And it works. You can do it with physical pain. You can do it with emotional pain. You can do it with circumstances and relationships. And it's radical acceptance. It's very key. Give up the struggle. If you're tired of struggling and exhausted and it hurts too much, good. Give up. Put it down. Surrender to it. Let it devour you. And it may not go away. People have chronic pain. We have chronically abusive relationships. We have chronically horrible jobs. But it always gets better, even if you can't eliminate it. It's easier to manage. And we learn from it and grow and just accept that somehow life knows what it's doing. All of this is for a reason. And if we could elevate our perspective high enough, we can see that all things work together for good. Doesn't always look that way. Quite often appears that that's ridiculous. But again, just put your toe in it or go in up to your knees and check it out. Okay, Mindy, anything else?
No, that was a good synopsis, though. I appreciate that at the end, wrapping it up like that.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mindy, for being here. I know you had a long drive today and appreciate your efforts. And to each and every one of you, thank you. Namaste, Aloha, Salam. Peace and love and blessings on all of you. Unmute, if you would, please say thank you and goodbye to your friends, and we'll see you next Sunday. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Michael.
everybody.
Bye.
Hey, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Blessings.
Week.
Thanks. Bye.
You,
God bless.
Michael.
God bless.
Yes.